Were you a good kid? You know, the quiet, responsible one. The one who never caused trouble. The one everyone praised for being so mature. It sounds like a compliment, right? But what if I told you that being a good child isn't a personality trait? What if it's actually a survival strategy? A strategy that, once you become an adult, starts to work against you. Being good in childhood rarely meant you had no needs. It usually meant you had no space to express them. And this creates a fundamental problem: disconnection from your own self. A good child learns very early on that their spontaneous reactions are risky. Getting angry is bad. Being sad is overreacting. Needing something is a problem. Even being joyful can be too loud. So, your nervous system learns to inhibit, not express. As an adult, this can leave you feeling like you don't even know what you want. It's not that you don't have desires, but you learn to suppress them before they could even fully form. Your decisions become logical, rational, and appropriate, but also internally empty. The second deep problem is taking on a pathological responsibility for other people's emotions. Good children often become emotional regulators for the adults around them. They learn that if they're quiet, pleasant, and undemanding, the tension in the house goes down. Peace depends on their behavior. In adulthood, this turns into a chronic habit of tuning into others. You notice someone else's bad mood faster than your own. You find yourself constantly trying to fix, soothe, and explain things for others, often at your own expense. It's not necessarily because you're selfless. It's because your nervous system has been wired to see other people's attention as a direct threat to your own safety. The third problem is a lack of healthy access to anger. A good child was almost always a child who wasn't allowed to be angry. Your anger was ignored, punished, or shamed. But that anger didn't just disappear, it was pushed inward. As an adult, you might not recognize your own anger directly. Instead, it shows up in other ways: chronic fatigue, cynicism, withdrawing from people, physical symptoms like headaches or stomach issues. Maybe you find yourself suddenly ending relationships or being incredibly hard on yourself. This isn't an absence of anger. It's a deep-seated refusal to even allow it to exist. This leads to the fourth problem: tying your self-worth to being good. A good child was praised not for who they were, but for what they weren't. A problem. Love and acceptance felt conditional. So as an adult, you can't feel worthy unless you're meeting someone else's expectations. Trying to rest fills you with guilt. Setting a boundary fills you with fear. Saying no fills you with shame. There's an internal belief that whispers, to deserve my place here, I have to be easy and convenient for everyone else. The fifth issue is a split between how you function and how you feel. Adults who were good children are often incredibly high-functioning. They're responsible, conscientious, and thoughtful. On the outside, their life looks perfect. But internally, they feel an emptiness, a numbness, or a constant, hard-to-name sadness. Their life looks correct, but it doesn't always feel alive. This is the long-term cost of years spent suppressing your authentic reactions. Your body learned how to survive, but it came at the expense of truly experiencing your own life. The sixth problem is a crippling fear of being a burden. As a good child, you learned that your needs complicated the lives of the adults around you. This leads to chronic self-minimization in adulthood. You rarely ask for help. You rarely say directly what you need. You might choose to be alone rather than risk being too much for someone else. This isn't true independence. It's a deeply ingrained fear that if you show your authentic self, with all your needs and desires, you will be rejected. And finally, the seventh problem is difficulty building equal, intimate relationships. A good child's role was always to adapt to others in a hierarchy. So in adulthood, you might unconsciously recreate this pattern. You find yourself in relationships where you are the one who gives, understands, and sacrifices, while the other person mostly takes. True balanced intimacy can feel strange and disorienting. It requires you to express your own needs without any guarantee that they'll be met. And for the good child, that guarantee was never there. If this sounds like you, the most important thing to understand is this: being good was not your choice. It was an intelligent and effective adaptation that helped you navigate your family and feel safe. The problem is that childhood adaptations aren't designed for adult life. What once protected you is now limiting you. The path forward isn't about fixing yourself, it's about giving yourself permission. Permission to finally feel your anger. Permission to have needs. Permission to be messy and inconvenient. It's about letting that inner child stop trying to regulate the entire world and finally just exist. This is a slow process. It can be painful, but it's fundamental. Because only then can being good stop being a prison and become what it should have always been, a choice. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll subscribe for more.